Hello everybody, it's Slushy and welcome back to another video. Now today I'll be reviewing a new horror movie that came out this year. Candyman! I was pumped last year when I heard about this film that was coming out. I had honestly never heard about it being made in the first place. I mean, I knew that something was going on. I didn't know that it was going to be sort of like a remake, reboot type thing, but it turns out it's more like a remake or reboot sequel because the original is still very much relevant. But this film is absolutely legendary, man. It's so much more than I expected. By the way, I want to explain something. If you don't know the story of Candyman, the original Candyman, it's about Daniel Robitaille, an innocent black man who was basically killed for being in love with a white woman. The white people that were on the farm or plantation, I believe it was, did not like the fact that he was in love with a white woman, and they chased him off and basically lynched him. They beat him, tortured him, and then covered him in honey and had the bee sting him, and then they burned him alive. They tortured that dude. And so that's why the original film is such a heartbreaking film. Honestly, when people are getting killed, you don't feel very bad for them because you see Daniel Robitaille as this, and he very much is a very innocent character. Yes, he is killing people, and that's terrible. But you got to look at his story, man. That's what's so heartbreaking about Candyman is he's not just another villain. You got Freddy who comes back for revenge, and he was a shitbag of a person. So you feel no sympathy for the fact that he was tortured and killed. Yes, of course, it's the wrong way to go about doing things. You don't torture somebody. There's a system in place, and yes, the system does fail most of the time. But the fact is, there's a system, and going about something a wrong way is just wrong. It's literally it's literally right there. It's the wrong way. So this whole lynch mob type thing, it's fucked. So yes, it's bad what happened to Freddy, but he was a shitbag of a person. You don't feel bad for him whatsoever. You do not feel bad. The remake kind of makes you feel bad for him at first before you find out that he's still a shitbag. But this film, Daniel is not a shitbag. In fact, he's a great guy who just was in love. There was nothing bad about him. He wasn't killing people at the time. It's just when he comes back, that's when you're kind of like, okay, this motherfucker's crazy. He's pissed. And I don't really feel bad for anybody in that film that dies. They have it coming to them. But overall, I love his story. And so when this film came out, I was pumped. And I honestly thought that Daniel was going to be a more central part of the film. And to be honest, though, as someone who's a huge fan of Candyman, the original Candyman, even its subsequent sequels, despite how shitty they are, they're still fun to watch. I think that this film did the right thing of not focusing on Daniel, but instead sort of making him like a secondary character, and then focusing on this new Candyman and the new mythos of Candyman. So there's another Candyman in this film. Not a spoiler. It's in the trailer. It's obviously not Daniel Robitaille, so you know off the bat that it's going to be a different guy. And I love his story. His story is just as good, almost as good. I'll say it's almost as good. It's not as strong as Daniel's because, he went through hell. This guy's Sherman Fields, the new Candyman. He went through hell too, just it's not as surreal and painful as what Tony Todd's character, Daniel Robitaille, went through. That man went through absolute hell. But this guy still has a really sad story. He was just an innocent man. He did not have this coming to him. I'm not going to get into what happened to him. I really wanted you guys to watch this film and sort of go into it like the same way I did, without really knowing everything that's going to happen. But I'll tell you right now, Daniel Robitaille is not a central character in this. This film, while it is sort of like a reboot, remake, sequel type deal, it really is very much its own film. And the original is still a huge part of this film. Yes, Daniel is a secondary character, but his whole story is the reason why this film essentially is happening. And it brings on this whole thing that's going on in the film. So I love Candyman 2021. And honestly, I mentioned this in my Forever Purge review. I'm not a huge fan of like overly social commentary, like whenever you just cram it full. But I also like it in some films. And I feel like Candyman is the perfect film to squeeze in a little social commentary. And honestly, it surprised me by how little social commentary was in this film. I mean, they talk about racism against black people, and they talk about police brutality and stuff, but honestly, they don't lay it on as heavy as I was expecting. And it works. This film knows it's a slasher film, and it doesn't decide to be anything but a slasher film. Some movies nowadays, I'll Halloween Kills, while I love that film, it tries to be so much more than a slasher film. It tries to be a psychological horror slasher film type deal, and it's just not. It's a slasher film. It doesn't need to be anything more than that. That's the problem with a lot of movies, is they try to be smarter than what they really are, and it winds up tainting the movie. You're kind of like, what did I just watch? Halloween Kills is an amazing film, though. I do think it's still an amazing film. But it's just sometimes you gotta know what you are and just stick with it. And this film knows what it is and just pulls through it. They don't care. They know they're a slasher movie. They stay a slasher movie. And I love the characters in this film. Very likable. You really start to... I don't know. Some of the decisions and characters in here are kind of iffy, but they're played as they should. And I think that's fantastic. Anthony, played by... Abdul Mateen II. So I hope I pronounced his first name right. I have no idea, but he was in Aquaman and he played Black Manta, and he's in this film and he plays Anthony. So he was amazing. I thought he was fantastic, and wow, I can see where a sequel can go for this, and I'm down for it. This film was violent as hell. There was blood galore, way more violent than I was ever expecting. Usually these not usually. Usually the remakes are more gruesome than the original film. But this film took it beyond lengths that I thought was going to happen. I expected a little bit of blood, but this film went all out. They did not hold punches. So if you're looking for a bloody movie about Candyman, or a Candyman running around killing people after they say his name 5 times into the mirror, then boy, you're in for a treat. This film is fantastic. I don't want to get into any more than that, because I will most definitely spoil this film, because I am so giddy about this film. Let me know down below if you've seen this, and I recommend to anybody who likes horror films, or you like films where revenge films, because Candyman is very much a revenge film. The first one is, and this one 100% is. Watch it. You will not be disappointed. But yeah, hit like if you enjoyed this. Subscribe if you're not already. Let me know down below if you like the Candyman films and do you like the Candyman character. If you don't, I don't really know what to say, because there's not really much to not like about him. I mean, he went through hell. But let me know down below. Hit like if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're not already. The bell notified anytime I make a video or stream. Say Candyman 5 times in the mirror, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.